So, back for another VGC guide, and this time we are looking at Corviknight. It's actually a pretty good Pokemon. It was used a little bit back in Generation 8. It was mainly paired with that Control with Drakazolt's Corviknight's team previously, where it did a very similar thing that it can very much do now. But then it doesn't have Dynamax anymore, so it can't go for max Airstreams to boost up its speed, so it loses a little bit of usability in that regard, but it's actually gained some usability because there are no Dynamax Pokemon to try and blast through it. So it's a very good typing in Flying and Steel. Only Fire and Electric hits it super effectively. That's why I recommend Dragon as your Terra type, so that you can defensively resist both of those that would be super effective against you, and if you're going to be hit by Fairies, then you're just staying in Steel type. So that's why I recommend the Dragon Terra type. It is going to be a pretty similar thing to what Corviknight has been doing previously. Usually you would have seen Brave Bird over Body Press, but I don't think that's as worth because you're not going for max Airstreams, like I said. Bulk Up boosts up Iron Head and Body Press, because physical attack, defensive attack, technically, that's what it means. And then, yeah, you've got Roost, so you've got Recovery. You can bulk yourself up, make yourself unkillable, while actually still outputting some decent damage. That defensive investment is enough to OHKO a King Gambit at +1 defense. Like, you are at +1 defense. I should specify because it's a bit awkward when it comes to Body Press. You're +1 defense. You OHKO King Gambit. It's taken some Life Orb chip. So it does 90% minimum to a King Gambit. It can just OHKO it, and if they are Life Orb, then it just OHKOs it. I don't think you need too much more because you needed 158, I think it was, to be able to OHKO guaranteed King Gambit at +1. But then you sacrifice, thank you, Showdown, sacrifice quite a bit of special bulk. So the fact that you're not bulking up your special side means that you probably should invest a bit more in there because you don't need as much in defenses, but that is a nice calc to be able to hit anyway. And when you bulked up, you'll be very nice and defensive. And your Iron Heads will start to do significant damage as well after you've got a bulk up or two. So it also has one of the greatest abilities in doubles that we just never really made use of because we never saw Corviknight too much. Mirror Armor reflects back all of the status lowering, not status lowering, the stats lowering abilities and moves that would be fired off by at Corviknight. So it would actually just reflect back any Intimidates, so it's not going to be intimidatable, so its Iron Heads are still going to be able to do very good damage. If they Icy Wind you, suddenly the Icy Winder is speed dropped instead of you are. If they try and snarl your special attacker next to you, then they are suddenly snarled instead. So it's a very nice ability, and it's unique to Corviknight, so definitely want to make use of it. Singles players use Pressure instead. In doubles, Mirror Armor is so much better. So this is probably the moveset I would recommend the most. The item is completely up for grabs. We saw Lumberry very commonly back in Generation 8, because then it would be able to take a Sleep Powder or whatever it was, or a Will-O-Wisp, and then still be able to sweep as the Dynamax Pokemon after it's bulked up. Because you're not going for that sweep anymore, I don't know if Lumberry is as important on Corviknight anymore. So I think it is much more justifiable to drop a load of things. Rocky Helmet seems to be a good item choice to stand out for me, because if you're hit by a physical attack, you're going to be able to soak it up with the bulk up and then get extra chip as well. So that's will make you 1v1 the King Gambit even better, because if they've hit you, the Rocky Helmet would have put them into Body Press range guaranteed if you're +1. So loads of different items, though I won't list them all because when there's so many items to go through, I'm not going to go through them all. Pick your favorites. It will probably work. If you are not going with the bulk up set, then you can go with Iron Defense instead. Iron Defense Body Press speeds up your Body Press even further, but your Iron Head is stuck as pretty weak. So Iron Head is basically just coverage at that point, and Body Press would be your main attack. I would still recommend Dragon over Flying. So this would be if you want to commit to the I'm going to bulk out and just not be KO'd. Is Corviknight a better Body Press Iron Defense Pokemon than Garganical? They do slightly different things, so you do have to weigh up the fact that if you're going to run Iron Defense on Body Press, should you just use Garganical? That's the main thing against using this set on the Corviknight. You can use Bulk Up completely separately from what Garganical could do, because then you can boost up your Iron Heads as well, but should you use Corviknight over Garganical? Steel and Flying is a very good typing to be able to do that. If you are using this as well, it is reasonable enough to drop Iron Head because you are not boosting it, and you can fit Tailwind onto the team if you need a speed boost for the rest of your team as well. So be wary of the ghosts, because you won't be able to hit them if you don't have any non-fighting coverage, but I think it is perfectly reasonable to drop Iron Head because it's going to be pretty weak without any bulk up boosts, and have Tailwind instead. I wouldn't really recommend many other moves. You can have Brave Bird. I would recommend that on the bulk up set instead, probably over one of them, maybe Iron Heads as well. But Brave Bird does give you that recoil and has anti-synergy with you trying to bulk yourself up. Having Brave Bird over an Iron Head with Body Press as well is absolutely fine. Could maybe run Drill Peck. that could be okay as well, because then you don't get any recall, but then it's noticeably weaker, like significantly weaker than Brave Bird. So I probably would steer away from Drill Peck. I'd probably stick with Iron Heads. Iron Head seems slightly better coverage than Brave Bird does. Brave Bird is a bit stronger, but gives you recoil, so a little bit awkward. But yeah, that is going to be it for Corviknights. I think it is still a very strong Pokemon. We don't have anything like Celesteela, so this is going to be the flying steel type that we have to contend with, and it can be quite annoying to deal with, given the fact that mostly you have to deal with it with fire and electric type attacks, and now you can just change into a dragon or whatever your favourite type is. It's going to be quite difficult to deal with.